Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's another episode of the Spartan Shadows podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris. I'm joined with my co host, Emmett. Zach, unfortunately, couldn't make it today, but he will be hopefully back for our next one, joining us post Penn State game whenever we record after tomorrow's game. Got a lot to talk about with this week's episode. Some hockey results from last weekend and starting this weekend, I guess. We're recording on Friday about 8:30. What's today? The 13th of November,
14th.
14th. It's one of these days.
14th. They all just blend together.
Yep, exactly. So we've got basketball with a big win yesterday at the Breslin Center. Big time commitment on the basketball front to announce. Some football news that is about as promising as the results on the field have been late. And then some women's soccer news. So we'll get you caught up on all of that and get you previewed for the senior day game tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate you joining us as always. And Emmett, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Going to be great weather actually for senior day tomorrow, so that's always exciting. Going to be a great chance to go out and give these seniors one last send off. I know the year hasn't gone necessarily the way we all wanted, but the guys on the field are working their butts off to try to get everything turned around and get the fans what they want to see. So, you might as well go out and support. I understand that voicing support for Jonathan Smith is not exactly easy right now. I saw during the Breslin Center game yesterday, fans booing his message during the Veteran Salute to Service, a message that all the MSU head coaches around campus had made. So I understand that you're frustrated with the on-field product. My advice is don't take it out on the players who are working their butts off, and if you can, find a way to show up to senior day tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the seniors that are participating tomorrow, last time, obviously, able to perform in front of the home crowd and want to give them a good send off for all the hard work that they've put in over the years here in East Lansing. Um, we'll break down the senior day celebrations and everything a little bit more detail when we get to football. We'll start with hockey, I guess. Most optimistic sport we got going on, I guess. Lead with the good vibes. Last weekend we saw the number 3 Penn State Nittany Lions coming into East Lansing for a 2-game set at Munn. Was going to be the premier matchup of the Big Ten play for quite some time, probably. Gavin McKenna, the laundry list of talent they have over there coming in against our highly stacked team. And games didn't disappoint, to be perfectly honest with you. Some really good hockey played. MSU came out in front in both games. Was able to sweep Penn State back to Happy Valley in the first installment of the season series, so we were pumped to see that. Obviously kept its unanimous number 1 ranking in the country going into this week. I thought the boys played really well. Adam Nightingale had them ready to go. Porter Martone played outstanding. Caden Lindstrom, Trey Augustine, just to name a few. Really the whole team had good games. Just shouting out some individuals that I thought exceeded, but Trey played really well in nets, and the newcomers, Caden and Porter, really set the tone. Porter Martone used his physicality the way we needed it to, and proved he wouldn't be letting the other side of any team push us around. And that's something I think MSU's kind of missed in recent years a little bit, and will be very helpful moving forward. And it's already paying dividends this weekend. The Spartans are in South Bend playing 2 games at Notre Dame. Rebuilding Notre Dame team, not quite as strong as they normally would be. First-year head coach over there. At the time we started this recording, I believe we're up 2-0 in the first game. Yep, and Porter Martone.
And just got updated 2-1 end of the second period right now. We'll update back depending on how long this recording goes, of course.
Yeah, there you go. But Porter Martone with both our goals in that one too, so he's starting the season off on fire. A little note: Caden Lindstrom is not playing tonight for the Spartans. Sounds like just a rest day.
Yeah.
So coming off that back injury last year, you want to give him a little bit of rest when needed. Don't want to push him too hard. So just a rest day. Might see him in the lineup tomorrow. But Trey was in that as well, and seems to be looking pretty strong yet again. So, any thoughts on hockey while we're talking about them before we move to basketball?
Yeah. So first thing I want to touch on is how can you mention the weekend series without mentioning really? I would say you mentioned of the top 4 players I think who were on the ice in that game. You mentioned one of them in Augustine, but you didn't mention Anthony Romani, who he had 2 goals in that series, one in each of them.
He did.
Another talented freshman, by the way, talented newcomer. And then you didn't mention Charlie Stramel, sorry. 4 points in the second game alone, 2 goals, 2 assists. Just absolutely all over the ice, an absolute menace. And then Tiernan Shouty with the game-winning goal in overtime of the first game. I was fortunate enough to be able to attend those games as media, getting to cover it. Could not cover the press conferences because I had to jet over to the Breslin Center the second night, but first night got to cover press. Actually had a good piece put together regarding Tiernan Shouty's interview. Go check that out in Spartan Shadows if you have a second. A lot of good quotes about the atmosphere at Munn, just the overall feel of this, and how, even a short turnaround, he was just excited to play and said, honestly, it's a blessing because we don't get to wait around as much all day. We're just ready to go straight away. But overall,
absolutely.
it was a great game, great set of games, especially if you're a Michigan State fan. That second game definitely felt cathartic. If you were a little gutted, had that gut punch from no Gavin McKenna, you definitely felt a little cathartic seeing that 5-0 game. Obviously worth mentioning, there was a fight. Riker Lee got a game misconduct from it. I believe also, I want to say Penn State had 2 players ejected from that game. Advin, their fourth line winger or center or something, freshman from Latvia. Yeah, it was just it got a little chippy at the end, and when you're losing a series 3-0 right after, one team had a bye week and then the other one is thinking they're the best thing and the game is just one-sided as it is. That's what's going to happen. It's hockey. We all love it. It wasn't any really malicious intent. Just one person felt they got shoved a little bit after the whistle, and then one person took a stick to the shoulders, and it was on from there. Nothing dirty, nothing that, it's what you expect from Penn State. No. This was just, it was hard, intense hockey, and it was 2 of the best programs with a little frustration and a little bit of that conference play and trying to get that chip on the shoulder going early in the year.
Yep. Yeah, and once the on the ice plays kind of leaning towards being decided, as someone who's been in those situations when you're down a little bit, you want to try to remember that, hey, there's still a couple games left this season.
And
Penn
you're not
State,
seeing them for 2.5 months. But you're gonna leave a mark. Gonna get under the skin if you can.
Yep. Just reminder that it's hockey. Get the physical play ramped up a little bit, and nothing wrong with that, of course. So overall, what a good weekend for Adam Nightingale and the Spartan hockey team. About as well as I could have hoped for. The hockey
if you told me 5-0 in that second game, I would honestly be more afraid Penn State found a way to get the lamps lighting than. Well, just honestly, because of all that hype you see around McKenna, I would be like, oh my God, did McKenna have 4? If you told me 5-0 with one player having 4 points, my first gut reaction would probably be to say it was Penn State winning 5-0 with Gavin McKenna having 4 points.
Yep. But the Spartans put together a good game. Trey had a obviously really good game, and that was that.
Built, not bought. Yeah,
yep.
As you saw trending a little bit after that, built, not bought really was that thing, because you also had Tommy Ministo and Tiernan Shouty on that fourth line just absolutely decimating. Yep. They were the ones that really put the work in that first game to really force good chances and force the overtime winner.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So that 5-0 game was the first half of the festivities on campus Saturday. As Emmett mentioned, he had to leave a little bit early. We skipped the hockey press conference and jet on over to Breslin because there was a top 25 matchup being played at the Breslin Center. Coach Calipari's Arkansas team was in town. They were number 8 at the time in the country, but a 69-66 win over Arkansas by Tom Izzo's squad made them drop in the polls. I thought the Spartans played a pretty good game.
I think they were 14.
14th, yes, it was on November 8th. I'm looking at the wrong things here. So 14th had a little drop in the standings, but the Spartans put together a pretty good game there. You had Cam Ward with 18 points and 10 rebounds. Jackson Kohler had 10 points, 7 boards. Cohen Carr, 15 points, 7 boards. All around a pretty slugfest win, I guess. Kind of a grimy Tom Izzo-esque win for the Spartans, but that moved them to 2-0 on the year. Big win against a a really good Arkansas team, and that propelled them into yesterday's game against San Jose State, which was a little bit easier of a task. Not that the Spartans played their A game by any stretch of the imagination,
Not
and
at all.
Tom Izzo had some fun quotes in his media skirms about the state of the Spartans play yesterday, but the final score on yesterday's game, 79-60. Like I said, big win for the Spartans. Jackson Kohler had a career high. Players all around, actually, with great games and career highs. You can see media excerpts thanks to Emmett on our YouTube page. I believe we have Jackson Kohler, Jeremy Fears,
Carson
and
Cooper
Carson
and
Cooper up on their post game comments, I guess you want to say. So check those out if you haven't seen them already. They're quick little hitters. 5 minutes or so on each one. Just kind of talking about how they thought their games went. But yeah, yesterday's win moved the Spartans to 3-0 on the year, and nice couple of tests leading into the Champions Classic next week. So, schedule doesn't get any easier from here, of course. But yeah, I thought, hey, survive. You got the wins, better than the losses. Like I said, didn't play our best game really in either game, I thought, but a lot of positives to take away and a lot of things to work on, and hopefully don't get too fat and sassy in the time off, as Tom would say. But Emmett, what were your thoughts on the basketball performance this week on the court? And then we can get to the recruiting being on fire off the court afterwards.
So, looking back at that Arkansas game, as we all expected heading into the game with, Darius Acuff and Malik, as we all expected, the best freshman on court in the country was Cam Ward. But no, Ward just had an amazing game. Carson Cooper, early foul trouble, drew Cam Ward off the bench before we even hit the first media timeout of the game. And just really, from the moment he stepped on court, Ward was making an impact. And overall, between him and Jordan Scott just diving for what felt like every loose ball, every rebound, he was finding a way to get a hand involved. Both freshmen, absolute effort plays. There were so many times I'd be putting a star by their name for an effort play. It just felt like this was a team win. And yeah, it wasn't pretty. The stuff you want to take back with, Jeremy Fears missing a free throw, Jordan Scott missing both of his free throws at the line late in the game that could have given you a 2-possession lead. There's just the usual stuff that, you really wish to have back and would probably cost you down the line, even as early as, say, December against Duke or January or even Tuesday against Kentucky. But
Yep.
overall, there's a lot. A win is a win at the end of the day. And Coach Calipari said it best that at this point in the season, especially when you're playing really good opponents, there's wins and there's learns. There's not really losses yet when you're playing some of these great programs like Arkansas. And would I have coped with it really when you're looking at what if we were playing better? Maybe, maybe not. But at the same time, you got out of there with a win. And this just was a game where you saw Cam Ward break out. You saw Carson Cooper, when he was able to be on court, make a good impact. Cohen Carr was Cohen Carr. Jackson Kohler, great game overall for him. Honestly, starting to get at the point where you see 7 rebounds and you're like, okay, what went wrong for Kohler? Just with how he was a monster on the board. Segueing into yesterday's game, Jackson Kohler was a monster on the board. 18 rebounds, 2 blocks. Carson Cooper, 17-point game. If you had told me Carson Cooper was having a 17-point game, I would have asked you for what you were smoking. But yeah, 17-point game, 7 rebounds. Just Cooper was playing having that senior bump that you always see under these Tom Izzo teams, especially the ones that maybe surprise you a little and go farther than you expect. It's seniors who you don't have the highest expectations for, playing out of their minds, playing above the level that you were seeing from them, and that's really what happened. Jeremy Fears, as we all expected, team high 3 threes on Thursday. Career high 15 points for him as well. A career high 17 for Cooper, career high 18 rebounds for Kohler, career high 10 points for Kurt Tang. You just saw everyone producing. And honestly, that's something you need to see. You need to see that production out of the 2 position, because the guard play was still very suspect outside of Jeremy Fears. Tang had those 10 points, but Divine, Ugochukwu, and Denim Wojcik, and who else is playing that 2 spot? Trey Fort. Those 3 did not really do enough to make me feel like this team is in a good spot with the 2s heading into the Champions Classic against Kentucky, and that is my concern when we're looking ahead for Kentucky. I know they lost to Louisville. I know their game tipped off like 2 hours ago. We're recording this 8:45 p.m. I know the game tipped off 2 hours ago. They're probably up by like 300 at this point because I was not. One sec, I'm actually looking it up.
I was gonna say I can look it up.
Yeah, they're up by 45 with 55 seconds left in the game.
Yeah,
Against Eastern Illinois. Yeah, so overall, the concern on San Jose State also becomes you're up by 23 at half, and you let that lead dwindle down to 10 points. And I know that's, okay, well, you still up in a double-digit lead, and you go back and win by 19. Okay, but at the end of the day, Izzo's pissed off, for lack of better terms, about how that second half transpired. He said, I did not coach them well enough, frankly, at the end of the day, because I did not coach them to come out of the locker room in that second half. And you saw which team was ready to play in the second half. Tim Miles, the head coach for San Jose State, obviously had his team ready for the second half. I did not, and that falls on me. As bad as you guys might hate on the effort, hate on the players, there's no one who's going to be hating on anything as hard as I'm hating on myself tonight, was the gist of what he said. I guarantee you, where the day after the game, that team was probably shooting free throws for the first 2 hours of practice today.
yeah.
That becomes your concern. You went 68% from the line in the win last night.
Well, and he flat out said too that if they played like that coming out of a game against Kentucky or Purdue or whoever, they'd get drubbed.
He said the same before Arkansas, and we saw how that went. So hey,
yep, you gotta take these. I get their tune-up games, and you're playing lesser opponents, but you have to kind of go with learning experiences on that because we play some real talented teams this year, and especially once you get into the NCAA tournament, you're not going to be able to afford to make that mistake. Otherwise, it'll cost you your season, unfortunately.
1,000%.
So yeah, but the next time you'll see the Spartans on court is Tuesday in Madison Square Garden playing Kentucky. Tip on that, we get the early game, so I believe that's 6:30 Eastern.
Yep, 6:30 tip. I will not be there live, unfortunately. I'm already planning on going to Iowa for football, so just couldn't get, the travel package, couldn't get that discount bundle.
Yeah, too much traveling across the country for Emmett there, so yeah, but that's...
Too many postage fees.
Yeah, right. So that's okay. You'll be able to check that game out on ESPN, I believe, is that, if you, still get that on your TV provider. But that will be the next time the basketball team's in action. As far as off-the-court news, recruitment stays scorching hot. Actually, after today's news with five-star prospect center Ethan Taylor committing, the Spartans now currently have the #1 recruiting class in the country for 2026. So that's outstanding news. 7-year-old Tom Izzo still has it. Much to our Michigan fans' dismay. He is not cooked or past his prime, at least on the recruiting trail for now. Ethan Taylor is top, I believe, like I said, 30 prospect in the country, #2 center, 7'1". It's been a while since we've been able to say we have a true 7-footer coming on the squad. He joins Josiah Jervis, Carlos Medlock, and who am I blanking on? Carlos Medlock,
Josiah Jervis, Julius
Avent was the other one. I knew I was forgetting somebody. So about as good of a 4-person class as you could have hoped for Izzo in the 2026 cycle. Congrats to Ethan. Super exciting. He mentioned in his recruitment commitment today that he was just in love with everything about MSU, the relationships he's built with Tom Izzo and staff. And he said the crowd surfing at Midnight Madness did not, or the Izzo campout did not hurt. So way to go, fans there. Good to see Ethan Taylor signing on. We're excited to have him. Emmett, thoughts on Ethan?
Honestly, having, the #2 center in the class and the #2 shooting guard in the class, #1 overall class in the nation, by the way, that is just something that you need to see, you love to see, because this is that or die trying push you really need with Michigan State. Worth mentioning, the Final Four for Detroit, the Final Four for 2027 is Detroit. That's going to be the first Final Four attempt for that 2026 class. So that's just always something that's going to be cool to see. Hopefully Izzo can have that lift for the squad and be there and playing for it all, basically in Michigan State's backyard. Ethan Taylor, great player and center that really with Carson Cooper and Jackson Cole are gone, you need that. Jesse McCulloch has not looked great the first 3 games. Obviously, there's still a lot of development left in the year, but Taylor looks like your plug-and-play option for the Spartans next year, and then you're going to have Kurt Tang battling it out probably with Josiah Jervis for starting at the 2 next year. So there is a lot you have to like for this program already, just looking to the future. And this year, you still feel very good about this team making a tournament push, making a tournament run, maybe getting to that Sweet 16, maybe finding a way to the Elite Eight. So overall, there is a lot you have to like about this, about what Tom Izzo's doing and putting together with this class. I'm beyond excited for what 2026 and 2027 holds, but obviously we still got a whole season that we can be very excited about with an undefeated basketball.
Yep, absolutely. And then you're going to get potentially a medical red shirt from a Caleb Glenn. And,
he doesn't need a medical red shirt. He's not going to play at all, and he's a true junior.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He still has eligibility. So, yeah, he'll be back too. You'll have a lot of
2 years of eligibility for Glenn, yep.
Yep, you'll have a lot of contributors coming onto the roster next year that you didn't necessarily have on this team. So a lot to look forward to for sure. A lot of pieces that Tom Izzo can use. So yeah, that's that. And moving on, before we get to football talk, a real quick note: women's soccer, they kicked off their NCAA tournament run today, and they defeated Milwaukee in the tournament to move on. I believe that was a 2-1 score.
Oh, 4-1.
4-1. That's what it was. So congrats to the women's soccer team moving on. Good to see a strong effort there and continuing, hopefully, for a few more games. So congrats to the Lady Spartans there. And now, well, I guess to kind of kill the vibes a little bit, we can switch over to football.
Oh boy, here we go.
Discuss the news of the week coming from the gridiron. I guess we can quickly start and address, we've kind of talked about it a little bit. You've seen a lot of it going around on Twitter and stuff like that. The football program hit with sanctions stemming from the self-reporting violations from 2023. Emmett probably has more of all of them. I know I'm going to miss a certain fine, but we got hit with Coach Tucker, Brandon Jordan, and Saeed Khalid got hit with show causes. Basically, the sanctions were from improper benefits given and ineligible players used during the 22, 23, and 24 seasons. So we have a reduction of visits, fine consistent of 1.5 times the athletic budget, I think is how that worked.
No,
what was it?
Not 1.5 times. 1.5%. Come on, Chris.
1.5%. Yeah, not 1.5 times. Holy cow!
Not a 150% fine. No, just
yeah.
So the fines. So it is a $30,000 one-time fine and 1.5% of, I want to say, the football program budget, which equates out to about just under $1 million a year, because right now it's at one. Right now, the budget last year, I want to say, was $58.4 million. Round that up to $60 million using rough math here, and that gets you to about $900,000, the equivalent of right under $3 million paid over the course of 3 years.
Yep.
You have 3-year probation.
Yes, 3-year probation. Oh no, I was just going to say 3-year probation, and then they didn't go directly name the athletes that were considered ineligible. You could probably do the math on the roster who played in 2022, 3, and 4, and come up with educated guesses.
It was confirmed 26 total games between the 3 players, so
yep.
You can really look through that one and infer who it could be. Youth and mental games carry the 1. An MSU spokesperson has confirmed none of those players who were under those violations are still on the roster for the 2025 Spartans.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I am reading this, if we can just dive straight into my assessment, the way I'm reading this is these players wasn't academics or anything that made them ineligible. They were retroactively called ineligible due to the illegal benefits during recruiting. And they said, okay, these amount of players, I want to say there were 6 total recruiting things that were tampering with. 3 of them went to Michigan State, which 50% hit rate while tampering. Yikes.
Yep.
But you had that happen then. So these players were retroactively ruled ineligible. And as a result, okay, cool. Looking at it, you vacate all your wins, so you vacate all, 14 wins, your
Yep.
5, your 4, and your 5. So Johnson Smith still has yet to officially win a Big Ten game. Officially, Michigan State's last win before the Western Michigan game this year was the 2021 Peach Bowl, which
Yep.
objectively is hilarious with Connor Stallions on your sideline during the Central Michigan game. I feel like you should be allowed to be 1-22 instead of 0-22, but that's just me. Yeah, just those are the main really things to note of it. And MSU fully cooperation. And you might ask, well, why is MSU getting hit harder than Michigan for their whole illegal spying, illegal scouting, and recruiting violations as well?
Or
Their
Central
players
for
were
that
never
matter.
deemed. Yeah, same thing with Central. Their players were never deemed ineligible, which is the cause for Michigan State having to vacate wins. This is why Central never vacated wins. This is why Michigan never vacated wins. They never officially had a player deemed ineligible. That said, you have the certain staffer, along with the halfback who's now in the NFL, never answering questions about an LLC or saying that it was illegal. That's another issue that the NCAA decided not to open in their can of worms. That is neither here nor there for the stuff against Michigan State, so I'll leave it at that. Overall, Michigan never had a player ineligible, which is why they do not vacate any wins. Michigan State did have players ineligible. That is why they vacated wins, and that is why the Spartans are. And these are vacated wins, not forfeit. So Michigan State's record the last 3 years is 0-5. Well, 0-7, 0-8, 0-7. It is not 0-12 all 3 years. Difference in terminology between that and forfeit. Last time Michigan State vacated wins was the 94 year when they forfeit all the games, actually.
Yep. All this really judged in my mind to say we cooperated, we self-reported, we did everything we were supposed to do when we found out that issues may have occurred, and yet still no breaks, no deals,
That
or
said,
no.
you might have. I won't say you asked for penalties like that. You might not have asked for vacated wins and everything, but to have vacated wins for the first time in 30 years for Michigan State football, and overall just all those to have vacated wins and everything like that, that also screams one thing. It screams you're trying to get out of any chance of the court ruling the Mel Tucker incident with Brenda Tracy, regardless of people's opinions on it, just if the court of law rules that it was he said, she said, and deemed that MSU still would have to pay any of Mel Tucker's buyout. Now there is reassurance that Mel Tucker's program was doing something wrong, and as a result, that this is going to be the ruling. It's just a cut and dry case, and regardless of how you view it. I'm not saying anything about the Brenda Tracy case. I am taking my hands off that. I'm not addressing it because that is one where there is no real right way to address it. If it happened and it is as was reported, then Mel Tucker should be frankly locked up. And that is really my opinion on the matter. Overall, just there is a second reason that Mel Tucker should have been fired for cause for Michigan State. And that gives assurance that even if the court says he said, she said, Michigan State still says, we have another reason why we fired Mel Tucker for cause. Look at the sanctions the NCAA just dropped on us, and it came while Mel Tucker was the coach, and as a result, that means that Michigan State should have fired Mel for cause. To answer your question, I don't think Jonathan Smith will fall under MSU could get out of the buyout because he was the head coach for 24. He had no idea of any of these self-reported sanction violations, or the player would be retroactively called ineligible. That does not fall on Jonathan Smith. MSU doesn't get a get-out-of-jail-free card if you're on that opinion about Smith for getting rid of Jonathan Smith if you elect to do so at the end of the year.
Yeah, and there's a whole can of worms that can open up. Like, you have to prove that Smith would know if you're going to use him for show cause, and I don't know if you can on that, like Emmett said. Also, going back to the Mel Tucker thing, does it open up the fact that, can you use this as a reason to get out of the buyout with the Brenda Tracy thing? Because he would have to have mentioned this at some point as a cause of firing too. Whether that ever happened or not, we don't know. We don't want to speculate.
We're trying not to touch it here at Spartan Shadows. We are simply pointing out that even if the court of law and the court of appeals for Mel Tucker wanting to get his money, he doesn't want to come back to coach. He wants his money at the end of the day. The only thing that it is saying there is that Mel Tucker had a second reason to be fired, and if the court of law said that the Brenda Tracy reason is not enough for cause.
Yeah, and keep in mind this is negotiated settlement, I guess. MSU did approve this. So in their mind, this was better than potentially what could have came, I guess. At least you would think so. So there may be more to it than what we know that we'll ever know. So just kind of go with it. At the end of the day, I think, this is what President Guskowitz thought was the best outcome for the university. And so that's what they're going to go with. And that's about that. As far as the NCAA sanctions and things like that, I think the NCAA, maybe just personal opinion here, to me, it shows why cooperate, because when you destroy phones, delete text messages, and say, I'm not answering your questions, lesser punishments happen. But that's neither here nor there. I guess it's kind of a wake up call for the university and for a lot of what happened in the sign stealing stuff, the central stuff, MSU stuff. What comes of it, I don't know. But this is what the MSU leadership thought was the best case outcome, and that's what they wanted to go with. So that's what we're going with, and here we are. Moving forward, we can hopefully leave that in the past. Should the university decide to part with Jonathan Smith, that is going to be a little bit of a hurdle on hiring their next coach. While the sanctions aren't the most damning thing in the world, you're still going to have to convince a coach that it's worth coming here with a little bit of a hit on some fines still left to pay, some vacated wins in recent memory. That may mean nothing to some coaches. That may mean something. We don't know. But it's just something that's going to be there, and you're going to feel the effects for a couple more seasons. Don't know whether that hurts Jonathan Smith's cause of staying, helps it. We don't know. We'll find out, I guess. But that's that. In more positive football news, senior day is tomorrow. Penn State coming into town, both teams 3-6. Kickoff set for 3:30 at Spartan Stadium. Game's going to be broadcast on CBS. They picked that as their game of the week. Why? I don't really know, but that's what they wanted. Current spread, I believe, according to FanDuel, is Penn State minus 7.5. Over under currently set at 48.5 if you're into that sort of bet. So, as Emmett said, looks like a pretty favorable forecast for mid-November. Temperatures should be closing in on the 60s and small chance of rain early on, but nothing too crazy. So, ideal weather for football. Hopefully a good time to send the seniors out right. Senior day festivity is going to be kicking off. What'd you say, Emmett, 25 minutes before kick?
Yeah, so the senior day kickoff. So kickoff is officially 3:40. You will be seeing the senior day festivities taking place at 3:15.
Yep. So I do not believe we've been given a list of the seniors that are participating.
They just posted a game trailer, and the top things to note so far from what I'm taking away from this. So you have redshirt junior punter Ryan Eckley featured. You also have redshirt junior defensive lineman Ben Nelson featured. But then you also, I don't recall seeing Ade Willie, nor do I recall seeing Rod Bullard. Those are two things to monitor.
Okay. And very likely that, reading between the lines, maybe Ryan Eckley is considering a potential draft run here.
He graduated last year. He graduated in 4. So you can very well see that Ryan Eckley, one of the best punters in the nation, not much left to prove unless the NIL check is that good. You don't have a ton to prove by going back for another year besides risking an injury or pulling something on an errant snap.
Yep, exactly. So probably safe to presume that this could be his last game in Spartan Stadium. I don't know if Ben Roberts wants to also maybe pursue a shot.
Ben Nelson, the walk-on defensive.
Ben Nelson, sorry.
No, walk-on defensive lineman. He has been playing on field goal block the last 2 weeks.
Yep. So this also could be his very well last game as well. So congrats to all the seniors that are partaking. I hope you all get to have a great pregame ceremony with your families and enjoy the last go around at Spartan Stadium. It is a special time, no matter how well the team's doing on the field. It's good to see, get to commemorate your 3-4 years of hard work and dedication and in football. And, I'm glad you get to go through it, and everybody should at one point in their career. So be happy to see them go through it. As far as the game goes, I don't have a lot of sunshine and rainbows. Penn State is a very talented team. We knew that going into the season. They were considered one of the top teams in the country. I understand things have went off the rails down in Happy Valley. Not the win-loss record you expect for a team of that quality. Obviously, going 3-6, they do not have a Big Ten win yet. James Franklin's been fired, so you're coming in with an interim head coach, but still a very talented team on paper. They've had a lot of one-score games, had a lot of things maybe not go their way, a couple bad bounces, a couple bad breaks, but still a very competitive team with potential to do very well. They put up a lot of points in a lot of their games and just fell short on the defensive end. So it'll be interesting to see what team Penn State comes out with. I think they're probably going to be coming in with their hair on fire, just personally. So this is probably one of their best shots, in my opinion, to get a win on the season in Big Ten play. So I would expect them wanting to take it as much as they can. So yeah, that's just my quick hits on the game. I'll let Emmett go over his, and then we can get into predictions and all that other fun stuff.
So overall, they're breaking in Ethan Grunkmeyer. He just came off his best game against Indiana, passed for, I want to say, 219 yards against the Hoosiers. Took the Hoosiers down to the last second and required a amazing catch by Omar Cooper Jr. in the end zone to beat him.
Yes.
You can't really say that this Penn State team is, bad by any stretch of the imagination. I know they're 0-6 in Big Ten play. I know that, they're looking at a 3-6 year, same record as Michigan State. Besides their Ohio State contest where they lost 38-7, the Nittany Lions have lost all of their Big Ten games by under a touchdown. So there is not really this. They're not the I hate to say this, but almost the overwhelmingly bad or poor product you see on the field that sometimes you can see out of this Michigan State team. You've seen them put up duds against UCLA, who's not exactly Ohio State. And overall, I think that Michigan State's going to have their hands full with arguably the best 1-2 punch in the Big Ten in Katron Allen and Nick Singleton.
Yep.
Both of them have combined for over 1,000 rushing yards this year, with Katron at 736, Singleton at 360, 19 touchdowns between the two of them. The receiving core, Trevor Pena, the only one over 300 yards on the year. When you lose Drew Aller for the end of the season after 5.5 games, yeah, you're going to see a drop-off in receiving production. That said, I do think our corners are going to have to play great games because Pena, Ross, and Ware Hudson are arguably better than what you expect to see out of, your 0-6 in the Big Ten teams. Defensively, got to watch out for Amari Campbell, and then pass rusher Dennis Sutton. Dennis Sutton, I want to say, is getting day 2 grades right now for the NFL draft. So
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, you have to watch out that the offensive line is going to have to give. We don't have a for sure quarterback 1 for Michigan State. Johnson Smith did not say who's starting, who's not. So it might be Aiden Childs behind the helm. It might be Alessio Milivojevic coming off of, that 300-yard game against Minnesota. Worth noting, both quarterbacks had an extra week to impress the coaches with that bye week. So we'll see how the team comes out after a bye. But overall, there is going to be a lot that Michigan State has to do to emerge victorious over Penn State. This is not a pushover Penn State team, despite them being 0-6 in the Big Ten, just like MSU.
Yeah, and like Emmett said, they've held close in most of their games, and they've played some tough Big Ten teams. It's not that they've played just UCLA's and some bottom tier teams. They kept Oregon close. They kept Indiana and probably
went to overtime against Oregon. Took Indiana to the last 5 seconds of the game.
Probably gave Indiana their closest game of the season, I believe.
1,000%. And that includes the Oregon when Indiana played Oregon.
Yeah, exactly. So outside of the Ohio State game, Penn State's been right there in pretty much everything they've done. So it's going to be a tough test for sure. Hopefully you'll have a nice turnout for the home crowd. Being the last home game and the nice weather helps. Certainly it's not going to be the Penn State game from 2021 where it's blizzarding outside. Pretty sure I still have hypothermia from that game. So you have the favorable weather conditions. You have senior day, so hopefully maybe you can get some fans on your side. Like Emmett said, they have not named quarterback 1. I believe the team knows who's playing, obviously.
I'm sure the team's known for a while now, but we officially do not know who. Yeah. We won't know until the quarterbacks and centers run out onto the field and start taking their warm-up snaps to start the game festivities. I will tweet that out when we see it.
Yeah. I have no inside knowledge to this. This is just a pure speculation guess and based on vibes and what I think happened, but I would be willing to pencil in Alessio Milivojevic as a starter. That's
I
just
agree
my
with that.
thoughts. Like I said, Aiden is the more experienced quarterback, but I don't think Alessio did anything in his last start to take the job away, and I think he looked pretty darn good. So keep the
Agreed.
train rolling, but we'll carry that into predictions, I guess. I think it is going to not particularly be a close game. I don't see a Spartan last second backdoor cover like we've had of late. I think Penn State's going to cover.
Where's your sense of adventure?
I would love a cover or a win. I just don't know if I feel the vibes. Give me Penn State to win 38-24.
That's a lot of points on senior day right there.
Nice weather. I'm thinking points are coming out. Yeah, 38-24 sounds right. First touchdown. Give me an Alessio Milivojevic rushing touchdown.
Okay. Okay. So, this one I've been going back and forth on in my head for a while now. Obviously, when you have a bye week, you have nothing better to do but think. I've thought of a million ways MSU could win it, 2 million ways MSU could lose it. I would say give me Penn State 31, give me Michigan State 21. I was debating about 24 for the backdoor cover. I just don't know if I can see it. This is a very good Penn State team. This might be the best 0-6 in conference team you may ever see. So you literally flip a coin on 5 different games, and Penn State is 5-1 in the Big Ten and very easily in the college football playoff.
And James Franklin still has a job.
Yeah, James Franklin still has the job too, but don't get into dissing my goat Franklin. Yeah, so for first touchdown of the day, I kind of feel like Chris disrespected the seniors by not saying a senior is going to get the first touchdown of the day. So give me Omari Kelly. He'll have a receiving touchdown.
Makes sense. They'll feed the seniors the ball too if it needs to.
Zach, we already know will be saying Jack Velling touchdown. He's a
Speaking of
senior.
seniors,
Yeah, he's a senior. We're gonna have to find a new bit for Zach for next year football season. We'll get back to you on that one when we talk it over.
probably Michael Masuna's touchdown or Jaden Savory if we want to go youth movement at tight end.
That's fair, assuming Savory is healthy again. Jeez.
Yes. But yeah, that's it. That's really it for everything. Football, especially.
What's the hockey score look like?
Yeah, give us an update
We
on
might be
hockey.
able to have a fine. Yeah, let's be the
Good.
app for like 45 minutes. Let's see. Maxine Sturbach just got a goal 16 minutes ago, so now we're up 3-1.
Okay. So closing in on the victory for Friday night in South Bend. Good for Strawbeck. One thing I did want to note, it looks like its preliminary rosters are being floated out for the College Hockey Cup. I can't think of the stupid name of it, and it's going to drive me nuts off the top of my head. The note I wanted to put in there is that you're not going to see a lot of MSU players on that roster. And by not going to see many, I mean you're probably not going to see any because MSU is probably going to have a pretty strong contingent at the World Junior Championships this year, and you don't want to miss games for both of that and this College Hockey Cup. So just a heads up, I know I've seen some MSU fans retweet it because Strammel has been named, and then people going, why isn't Trey being named on here? He's the best goalie. It's for that reason.
Augustine's too old for juniors.
Yes, he is, but I also think Augustine's going to try to play as much MSU hockey as he can this year, just personally thinking, because
MSU is taking the quarterback kneel. They just put Dolan Gilbert in goal.
nice, not even Straw.
Victory formations out for the Spartans.
Not even Straw, huh? Okay, well, all right.
Which, if
yeah.
Gilbert's out, do you see Straw? Okay, last second hockey talk, rarely by me. A last second hockey talk. Does that mean the strategy might be tomorrow night on Peacock? By the way, you can watch it if you have Peacock. Do you see Melvin Strahl for a second career game?
Probably, I would think that's a good indication.
Is Notre Dame viewed as quote that bad end quote that you put Strahl in goal?
Yeah, a little bit of that. Trey also needs some rest days. He's been going a bit. I know you had a bye before Penn State, but you also want to make sure Trey's not being overworked, especially with the meat of Big Ten play starting to get going. So always good to get Strahl a game or two. Can't remember how many Luca DePasquo ended up playing last year, but he also got the bump for Trey. Yeah, he also got the bump for Trey being at the World Juniors too. So, but yeah. So But yeah, that should be about it. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This should be up hopefully tomorrow morning before the Penn State game. Obviously, those going to campus, be safe, have fun. Look for Emmett in the press box. Wave at him, and then
Oh yeah.
that'll be. That'll be that. Those who are not going to the game, certainly follow us on socials for updates. Emmett will be providing his usual play-by-play from the press box. So be sure to check that out. We'll have some post-game coverage once Emmett gets into the press conferences and stuff like that. And then Champions Classic next week for basketball. I don't believe we're expecting any more basketball recruits, so we'll just have.
I think Maximo is going to UNC.
Yep, Maximo Adams was the other target, and he's going to North Carolina. So that should be it for that. Start to calm down on some of the other news, and we'll just keep you going with basketball, hockey, football, and hopefully some women's soccer positive news too as they continue to go down the stretch in the NCAA tournament. So yeah, we'll be back next week with our regular episode, and then in the meantime, everybody stay safe, have fun, and go green.
Go white.